kind person. You take care of others. You say yes when someone needs you. You listen, you help, you understand. But when it comes to yourself, you are hard, very hard. You criticize yourself, you judge yourself, you punish yourself. What you forgive in others, you don't forgive in yourself. What you give to others, you deny yourself. Why? Why are we so kind to everyone except ourselves? It's not reverse selfishness. It's a habit we picked up, often since childhood. Today, we're going to look this habit in the face, and we're going to learn to treat ourselves with the same kindness we offer others.
Emma, you just described exactly my life. I want so badly to change certain things. I want to feel freer, more confident, more aligned with what I really want. But I stay stuck. I stay in my habits, in my fears, and I tell myself that I don't have enough motivation, enough courage. So what you're saying strikes me, you shouldn't start with motivation. But with what then? What do you start with when you really want to change?
You start with something that almost everyone ignores. You start by changing the environment. You start by changing the conditions. You start by making the right choice easy and the wrong choice hard. Motivation is like a car. It needs fuel. But even with fuel, if your car is parked on a path blocked by rocks, it won't move. Before looking for more fuel, clear the rocks. Make the path possible. Most people want to change their lives while staying in the same environment, with the same triggers, the same distractions, the same obstacles. And they exhaust themselves trying to get motivated. But that's not how it works.
So, if I understand correctly, the problem is not that I lack willpower. It's that my environment pushes me to stay as I am?
Exactly. Look around you. You want to eat better, but your kitchen is full of cookies and snacks. You want to work on a project, but your phone is next to you with notifications blinking. You want to go to bed early, but your TV is in your bedroom. Every day, your environment pushes you toward the behaviors you want to change. And you think the problem is that you're not strong enough to resist, but it's not about strength, it's about design. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine you are a river. Water always flows by the easiest path. If you want the water to go in a new direction, you don't tell it, be more motivated. You dig a new channel. You build barriers. You make the new path easier than the old one. Your behavior is the same. It follows the easiest path. If you want to change, you don't force yourself to resist the easy path. You change the path. You make the old path harder and the new path easier.
But many people say you have to change your mindset, your thoughts first, that you have to believe in yourself before you act. You're saying the opposite?
It's not the opposite. It's another way of seeing things. Mindset is important, but mindset doesn't change through thought alone. Mindset changes through action and environment. If you spend months trying to believe in yourself without changing anything in what you do and the space you live in, you'll go in circles. Your mindset follows your behavior, not the other way around. Carol Dweck, the researcher on mindset, says that a growth mindset doesn't develop by telling yourself, I have a growth mindset. It develops by facing challenges, persevering, seeing failure as information. Action forges mindset, not the other way around. So stop waiting to feel mentally ready. Act first. Change your environment first. The mindset will follow.
So science says we can design our environment to change our behavior.
Yes, and it's very powerful. There's a researcher named B.J. Fogg at Stanford University. He developed what is called the behavior model. He says that for a behavior to occur, 3 things must come together: motivation, ability, and a trigger. Most people focus on motivation, but that's the most unstable variable. What you need to work on is ability. Make the behavior easier to do. And the trigger. Create a clear signal that says, this is the moment. For example, if you want to stretch every morning, you don't rely on your motivation. You put your yoga mat in front of your bed. In the morning when you get up, the mat is there. That's the trigger. And because it's already there, the action is easy. That's ability. Motivation doesn't even need to be very strong. There are also studies showing that people who succeed in changing their habits are not those with the most willpower. They are those who create friction for bad habits and facilitation for good ones. A simple example: people who want to eat fewer cookies will put the cookies in a closed cupboard up high behind other things. It's not that their willpower is stronger, it's that the path to the cookies has become longer. The brain chooses what is easy.
You mentioned BJ Fogg. What exactly does he say about change?
He has a very simple phrase: behaviors occur when motivation, ability, and a trigger are present at the same time. What's interesting is that if ability is very high, the action is very easy. You barely need any motivation. That's why I talk about tiny actions. An action that takes 2 minutes, you can do it even when you're tired, even when you don't feel like it. Ability is so high that motivation is no longer an obstacle. James Clear picks up this idea in Atomic Habits. He says, "The environment is the invisible hand that shapes behavior. We think we are free in our choices, but in reality, most of our choices are influenced by what is around us. If you want to change, stop focusing on yourself. Focus on what surrounds you." Marshall Goldsmith, a leadership coach, says a phrase I really like: "What worked in the past won't necessarily work in the future." Many people stay stuck because they keep trying the same methods. Motivating themselves, making promises, feeling guilty. And those methods don't work. So they think they are the problem. But they are not the problem. The method is.
So if I want to change, I need to stop trying to motivate myself and start changing my environment.
Exactly. You've got it.
So let me give you a concrete example from my life. I want to stop spending too much time on my phone in the morning. I wake up, I pick up my phone, I look at social media, and I lose 30 minutes. I tell myself every day, today I won't do it. But I do it anyway. I feel guilty, but nothing changes.
Let's apply what we said. Why do you pick up your phone in the morning? Because it's next to your bed, within reach. That's the easiest path. If you want to change this behavior, you don't tell yourself, "I won't pick it up." You make that path hard. You put your phone in another room before going to bed. Or you put it in a drawer with a lock. Or you put it on airplane mode and place it far from your bed. In the morning, to pick it up, you would have to get up, walk, turn it off. That's harder. So your brain might choose something else. At the same time, you make the right choice easy. You put a book next to your bed, or a notebook to write in, or you prepare a drink you like. The new path, the one you want, becomes easier than the old one. You don't need to fight with your willpower. You just change the conditions.
It's so simple that it seems too simple. But thinking about it, it makes sense. Why didn't I think of this before?
Because we were taught that change is about willpower. We were told that people who succeed are strong, disciplined. So we try to be strong. And when we fail, we tell ourselves we aren't strong enough. But it's not about strength. It's about design. People who succeed in changing are not stronger. They are smarter. They understood that willpower is limited, but the environment is constant.
Give me a concrete method to apply this in my life. I want to change several things. Work more on my project. Stop snacking in the evening. Get up earlier.
Here's a simple 4-step method. I call it the setup method. S. Spot the obstacle. For each behavior you want to stop, identify what makes that behavior easy and make it hard. If you want to stop snacking, put the snacks in a high cupboard behind other food. If you want to stop spending time on social media, uninstall the apps or use a blocker. Don't rely on your willpower to resist. Rely on the environment to make resistance unnecessary. E. Establish a clear trigger. For each behavior you want to start, create a visible signal. James Clear calls this habit design. For example, If you want to work on your project in the morning, put your laptop open on the table with the file open. If you want to exercise, put your clothes on a chair in front of your bed. The trigger should be so obvious that you can't ignore it. T. Take a tiny action. Don't aim for big, aim for regular. For your project, don't tell yourself, I'll work for 2 hours. Say, I'll open the file and write 3 lines. To get up earlier, don't tell yourself, I'll get up at 6 a.m. Say, I'll put 1 foot on the floor when the alarm rings. The tiny action is so easy that your brain doesn't refuse it. U. Unclutter your space. Environment isn't just objects, it's also organization. If your workspace is messy, your brain associates work with mess. If your space is clean and organized, work becomes more pleasant. Spend 5 minutes organizing the space where you want to create new habits. It's an investment that pays off big. P. Practice without perfectionism. You won't be perfect. Some days, the environment won't be enough. That's okay. The important thing is to return to the environment. If you snacked, don't feel guilty. Ask yourself, were the snacks too accessible? If you missed a work session, ask yourself, was my trigger clear? Fix the environment, not yourself.
This method seems very practical. But there are times when even with a good environment, I get stuck. For example, when I'm very tired, or when I'm overwhelmed by my emotions. What do I do in those cases?
That's an excellent question. Because the environment is powerful, but it doesn't do everything. There are situations where the inner resistance is very strong. When you're very tired, the tiny action becomes even more important. In those moments, you don't try to do a normal action. You look for an ultra-tiny action. Not 3 lines, 1 line. Not 5 minutes, 1 minute. The idea is not to break the chain. Even a tiny action preserves the connection to your project. And often, when you're tired, that tiny action makes you feel good. It gives you back a sense of control. When you're overwhelmed by emotions, you first need to recognize that the emotion is there. The mistake would be to try to fight it. Tell yourself, I feel overwhelmed. That's normal. I'm still going to do a tiny action, but I won't expect a perfect result. Sometimes, the tiny action doesn't produce visible progress. It just produces the fact that you didn't completely give up, and that's already huge. There are also times when what needs to change is not just the physical environment, but the social environment. If you're surrounded by people who pull you down or who have habits that don't help you, you can also modify that environment. Joining a group of people who do what you want to do is a way to make the new behavior easier. The brain naturally imitates what it sees around it.
What you're saying touch on something deeper. If I change my environment, do I also change who I am?
Yes, and that's where it's most powerful. Your identity is not just in your head. It's also in what surrounds you. Look at your home. It tells the story of who you are. If your space is messy, it constantly reminds you that you are disorganized. If you have objects that remind you of failures, they reinforce that identity. If you have objects that remind you of what you want to become, they push you toward that identity. James Clear says, every object in your environment is a reminder of who you want to be or who you are becoming. When you change your environment, you change the reminders you receive every day. You change the signals your brain interprets. And over time, these signals change your identity. For example, if you put a guitar visible in your living room, you are someone who plays guitar even if you don't play perfectly yet. If you put a yoga mat in front of your bed, you are someone who does yoga. Identity starts with the environment. It doesn't start with an inner declaration. So if you want to become someone new, start by creating an environment that looks like that person.
That's powerful. I never thought of it that way. My environment defines me, and at the same time, I can change it to redefine who I am. Emma, I think this conversation is really going to help me move forward. I understood that I was waiting for motivation to change, but motivation doesn't come, or it comes and goes. Meanwhile, I stay in the same environment, in the same conditions, and nothing changes. Now I see that the real starting point is to change the conditions.
Then remember this, George. You want to change your life? Don't start with motivation. Start with your environment. Make the right choice easy. Make the wrong choice hard. Create clear triggers. Use tiny actions. Organize your space so that it pushes you toward who you want to become. Motivation will come afterwards, if it comes. But even if it doesn't come, you will still move forward because your environment carries you. You don't become what you want by thinking it. You become what your environment repeats to you every day.
So I'll start today. Not with a promise, not with forced motivation. I'll start by moving my phone. I'll start by preparing my space. I'll start by making the right choice easier.
That's it. Start small. Start with the space. And watch what changes. Sometimes a small change in the environment can trigger a much bigger transformation than we imagine.
And that's everything for today's episode. If this helped you, subscribe to the channel and like the video so you don't miss the next one. Take care, and see you next time.